So far we've explored paying attention to the body, making room for thoughts and feelings, and noticing your surroundings. What I want to do now is take you a little deeper into your inner world and to notice what's there and what makes up this inner world that we often talk about. And as we move into this, you'll discover something quite remarkable, which is that this inner world is really not as solid or as predictable as what we imagine it to be. We act as if, when we talk about what's happening inside, as if we know what that means, as if we have some kind of mental map of what the terrain inside us looks like. But this is simply a misunderstanding because most of us have never actually really looked inside. So we all notice when things are there, we notice when particular emotions are arising, we notice when particular thought patterns are arising or hanging around, and of course we notice particular physical sensations. Everyone knows when they've got a headache or a stomach ache or some other physical pain or discomfort. And we also may be aware of positive sensations at times, the taste sensations that come with eating chocolate or sweet things, or the feeling of getting a massage. And yet, all of these phenomena are only things that arise and disappear within you. So that feeling of getting a massage is the result of sensations that come from the contact between objects. The emotion that arises is only there for a certain amount of time, and again, is a result of the circumstances surrounding you. The interaction between thoughts, between you and the outside world. And when these things subside, what we generally do is to stop paying attention to this inner world. So no one is generally aware of their head at times when it doesn't hurt. Most people don't notice their left knee when they're just sitting comfortably. When there's pain or if someone hits you in the back of the head, you'll be aware of it. But once that pain subsides, then our attention goes from the body, into this world of thought. So in this exercise, we'll look directly into this inner world and see what the nature of it is, what's actually inside. So closing your eyes will be really helpful for this. So if you're in a place where that's possible, please do. And let's start by just making contact once more with our attention with the body. So feeling the body once more. Find the outline of the body. Find the edges. And notice the breath coming and going once more. Now as you notice the breath coming in and going out, take a moment to look at that process and just ask yourself, what is the breath coming into and what is it going out of? Notice the sensation as the air comes in. And just look into that space that the air is coming into. And just see what it's like. Does this inner space have characteristics? Does it have characteristics that we can label or describe? Or is it just a space in which things are arising? So as you look into the body, you may notice emotions arising, or you may notice physical tension. And I want you to look more deeply and see what those sensations are arising in. If there's tightness in the shoulders, what surrounds that tightness? When you find the edges of the tightness, what's there? In other parts of the body where no particular sensation is arising, what do you see with your attention when you direct it to those places? Now, this task that I'm giving you is somewhat difficult, because if you truly look, you can't see anything. You can't find anything. It's like sitting in a park and looking at a solitary tree and trying to see what surrounds the tree. And of course we know that what surrounds it is air, we call it, or it's empty space. But that empty space doesn't have any particular characteristics. There's no adjectives that we can use to describe it, and we can't really compare it to anything else. So we just say it's empty. When you look inside, you'll also see this emptiness. And when I use the word see, of course I mean experience, notice. We're not visually looking at it. So with eyes closed, we can just direct our attention inside and just allow your attention to settle in that space. Just allow yourself to relax into that empty space. And whenever something arises, whether it's a thought or an emotion or a physical sensation, notice the way that it arises and then disappears within that space. And so what we discover when we look is that before the thought, before the emotion, before the physical sensation, that empty space is there. And again, we use the word empty, but it's a very alive space. It's not empty just in terms of the absence of something. It's just the absence of the solidity of an object. But what we discover is that prior to anything arising, that space is there, and then something arises, and then when that something dissolves, then the space remains. And we could even say that those objects, the thoughts and the feelings and the sensations, are arising out of that space and then dissolving back into it. Just as waves rise out of the ocean and crash on the shore and make great noise and spray and all of that power and beauty, and then they just retreat back into the ocean. And when we can see in this way, we start to see through what the Buddha called duality, the separation of this and that, object and space, good and bad. And we see the oneness and the connectedness of everything that's inside us. Don't allow your mind to turn this into philosophy though, because what we're describing is reality as it is within you right now. And that's what we want to look at. That's what we want to explore with our attention. There's no need to go off into descriptions or into thought-based problem making or any of that. All we need to do is just sit with eyes closed, looking inside the body and allowing the attention to rest in the space within. Letting objects, thoughts, feelings, sensations come and go in that space, like waves on the ocean. But knowing that you are the space that was there before the emotion, the thought, the sensation, and you remain after it disappears.